took the cupcakes?
Elise is insane with rage right now. The cupcakes were clearly stolen. Security is going to be summoned. Elise has said 7 times that she left the cupcakes over there, and now we have a thief in our midst. And Frankie's going to go to security and find out who stole the guava gluten-free cupcake. If any of you are made to feel better by the fact that now I've gotten reports that it was indeed several screams from Elise in the other room.
Wow.
She screams at me that way too, so don't feel too bad about that.
Are you telling me not to feel bad that I got screamed at?
I'm just telling you that she also screams at me that way, and I didn't steal my wife's cupcakes.
She's scrappy, huh?
Scrappy.
My wife has written here something just for clarification
Ooh, a
purposes. Statement. I don't know if it's a statement.
It's a statement if it was written.
Well, what is it? An update? Statement?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't trying to classify. I was just saying that she had written something, and then it became
just
a
sent
statement.
a text?
And,
I mean,
yes.
It's discovery. An official statement.
It's discovery, Dan.
Is
We
this
got to
an
see
affidavit
it.
or?
Seems like evidence of some sort.
I'm just saying that she's written something here.
Tony's still on the case.
Tony.
No, I've moved from detective to lawyer now, so I'm just trying to make sure that my clients are already set up.
It's a great character. The detective who still tries to solve the case after the confession is.
There's a lot of false confessions out there, Dan. I don't know if you know that or not.
This dude's Matlock over
It's
here.
riddled with false confessions. Prisons are.
He's the official lawyer of the Slow Report.
It's not a false confession.
For the record, okay, the cupcakes I got weren't the cupcakes I wanted. I wanted the guava. Jessica ate the guava.
One guava.
And she says the only reason you guys had cupcakes is because 3 days early, I had the idea to get everybody cupcakes.
Huh.
How do you feel, Jess? Feel good about yourself?
I mean, I feel fine. I ate one cupcake. She could have had the other cupcake.
Yeah.
I would have I would have said, I'm so sorry. I ate one cupcake. Here's the other cupcake. Valerie can still have her guava cupcake. But I was too busy getting screamed at, so there was no resolution.
Well, she screams at Dan, too. I mean,
Yes, and I feel like you were too busy with your mouth full of cupcake. I believe
The cupcake was long gone by the time this all happened.
They were
the
delicious.
Cupcake was, I mean,
Yeah.
How was it, by the way? It was good?
It wasn't that good. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow.
I mean, it's gluten-free and vegan. How good can it be?
Agreed.
It was fine. It was
You
a
said
fine
it.
cupcake.
I've got two here, Dan. I don't know what these are. I don't know if you want to bring these home, maybe.
There were other cupcakes and
They have a hint of guava to them, but they don't have the coloring
They
of
don't look
guava, so I don't know
guava.
100%.
Do they say
they are.
gluten-free on them?
Yeah, they say gluten-free. That's about it. Just
Oh,
gluten-free.
Jeremy's saying that all the cupcakes
yeah,
in this
we
building
went over
yesterday
this
were
in the
that's
local
what I've heard.
hour.
Okay.
There were
all
other
gluten-free.
gluten-free cupcakes.
Just the flavoring is what got Jess screamed at.
That's right, because the guava was stolen. I want to continue the conversation. It's still stealing.
Yes, but she could have still had a cupcake, but I was being screamed at, so I just went, okay, I'm going to go back in the studio, diffuse the situation, leave the room.
And here the situation still is, lingering like a
And
bad
whose fault is
smell
that?
in a bathroom. Well, your fault, because you stole
You
something.
started the segment with a statement.
But you stole something.
And we
The
could have
fault-
moved on to
the,
something
The
else.
starting point on all of this is the thievery. That's where it all started.
In Jess's defense, Valerie ordered the cupcakes. She could have said, hey, set 6 aside for me with my name on them. I mean, I don't want to get in trouble with Valerie. Valerie, I love you.
Because you have thieves there. She could have done all of that. You're right, as the Thursday morning quarterback. Or she could have just had her assistant put it in the space where her assistant always sits so that nobody would steal food that's not theirs.
Right. So who are we blaming here?
Well, it's Jess. Jess is the criminal.
Whose assistant is she? Because you say hers, but yours. Who's
Jess is the criminal here. There are no other criminals. There was one thing stolen, only one, but there was something stolen. But I want to circle back around on what Bob Kraft is trying to steal after the fact from Bill Belichick, because what is happening now is a whole lot of players are coming forth and defending the honor of Bill Belichick. They know how hard it is to win stuff like this in that league and to be that kind of dominant. And I think that they have an appreciation for the fact that he did it in a disciplined way that was kind of joyless, but was obviously successful. And I think people lose sight of the fact sometimes, because we're talking about this one all the time, Stugotz. The people who watch football always want the player to have the kind of boss that they themselves would not want to have. It seems like Bill Belichick made even winning miserable. It seemed like everything around there was very joyless, and so except when they won. And Pat Riley's talked about the fact there's winning and there's misery. If you're this obsessive compulsive about something like this, if you're this crazy about it, sometimes, Klay Thompson gave voice to this recently, when you're climbing up the mountain, you forget to have the joyous moments along the climb because you're always so busy making sure no one's catching up to you. You're always terrified when there are other competing people that someone else is doing the dick things, the mean things, the disciplined things that you're not doing, especially in that sport where it's been assumed forever that the muscle needs leading. The muscle, all of those muscular bodies need the discipline of 1,000 coaches on the sidelines to get their strength right, their nutrition right, their off-field habits right, all of it right. And it's oppressive. They were better at it than anybody. They were darker at it, the dark arts. They were better at them than anybody. And now Bill Belichick is looking for a job, though. And after giving Bob Kraft 20 years of success in that relationship, he's giving honest answers when fellow owners are asking him questions. And the reporting on Wickersham and Van Natta is basically, and Jeremy Fowler, is basically that Kraft is bleep blocking Belichick, like keeping him from getting other jobs, telling Arthur Blank, you can't trust Belichick. And when the partnership is between owner and coach that way, and you're only getting this sliver of reporting, what you're not getting is Kraft telling him, hey, this is what he did to me on Garoppolo. This is he's giving him all the good stuff on what Belichick did to not be trustworthy. It's such a damning indictment for someone who, when he was with you for 2 decades, you were winning titles a third of the time. To say you don't trust him, to call somebody and tell them you don't trust this person.
You trusted him for 20 years.
But but you don't trust him anymore. You're saying, to make that phone call is fairly extraordinary. And if you were watching that documentary on Apple, was it called Dynasty? On Apple, if you were watching that documentary in 10 parts, you saw that by the end of it, it just skewers Belichick, that all the bad stuff ended up being blamed on him.
I feel like, and this is no disrespect to Seth and Don Van Natta for the story, Natta. I don't know why I'm doing this.
You got it.
With his name. I feel like I would have been really intrigued by this 3 years ago, but they've been such a disaster that I've just, as a fan, I'm happy to watch the dynasty crumble, and this is what happens when dynasties crumble. People just have bad blood.
I am intrigued, though, by Bob Kraft trying to block Bill Belichick from getting a head coaching job, and the fact that Arthur Blank would actually listen to Bob Kraft.
Yeah,
and not just hire the coach he wants to hire.
To me, it undercuts all of the Patriots, what Bob Kraft is doing. I would just want people to think that we're all good. Going out and talking crap about the guy that built everything, helped build everything for you. It just it undercuts everything. It makes the whole dynasty seem lesser.
I've been trying to think, why would Kraft do this? And the only reason I'm left to come up with is Brady. Is that he feels, because we know that Kraft loved Brady, right? That he feels like they got rid of Brady too soon, and then Brady went on, and it was embarrassing, to win a Super Bowl the next season in Tampa Bay.
Nobody likes the person that leaves a job and then goes to another job and talks crap about their former boss or former employees or former people that they work with. It's just a bad look. It looks like I'm just so full of myself that I need to be the person.
But he's not
to,
the employee.
To give direction.
He's
here.
like the boss talking shit about employees.
That's even worse.
That's what I mean. To your point, like that is worse. Like
Yes.
an employee being disgruntled is kind of normal. The boss, like, and you guys, it's so much success. Nobody had more success than you guys.
I know.
It's just, I don't
It's great
get
to
this.
watch. It's hilarious.
Well, this is why, though, I don't think anything makes the dynasty lesser. There is no thing that can make it lesser just because it's too much winning for anything to actually damage it. But to Jessica's point of thinking this was more interesting 3 years ago, and she's not wrong, we're tired of a lot of the Patriots coverage, and that documentary hasn't resonated because we've gotten so much coverage about that team. But the part to me that makes this reopened interesting is the greatest coach of our lifetimes in any sport had to do multiple interviews for a laughingstock franchise and was left jobless when he wanted to coach. I want to know the explanation for that. And part of the explanation is that his owner is undermining him. Look at Adnan Virk feeling and looking liberated from the anchor of weight that is usually David Sampson during this segment. David Sampson is not here. He is very busy traveling to what is an expanding tour, a tour that is going all over the United States, that is now going to more and more cities.
The tour hits Pittsburgh tonight.
It does. You have a booger in your right nostril.
So does Clooney.
You might want to take care of that since this is televised. Adnan Virk has the entire floor to himself here, so there's plenty to talk about, and we can show off some of Adnan's hockey knowledge. So if between Leafs and Bruins and Panthers Lightning, which one of those do you most prefer to talk about?
Let's do Panthers Lightning first, Dan. Let's pander to your audience naturally. I think it's going to be fascinating watching this goalie matchup because Vasilevsky for years has been one of the best goalies in the sport, but his numbers this year not as strong. A 900 save percentage, around 260 goals against, whereas Sergei Bobrovsky was better, quite frankly, 915 save percentage, 237 goals against. You know, I think this matchup is great because both teams are awfully skilled up front, but they can be stout defensively if need be. I don't expect fire wagon hockey. I don't expect 5-4. I expect close games, and I hope the Panthers can emerge victorious. But I think it's going to be a very exciting series, not only for the Sunshine State, but for all of us hockey fans.
I think the other thing you have to look at, too, is the special team situation because the Panthers led the league in penalty minutes, and they were second in the league in power play opportunities for their opponents. And the Lightning were the best in the league in the power play, so that's something else you got to look at.
Absolutely, Roy. But I always find it fascinating, as you know as well as I do, how much the referees put away the whistles come playoff time. So special teams can often be critical, of course. If there's a big 5-on-3 in the third period, who isn't going to be excited about that? But I oftentimes, as you know, a lot more clutching, a lot more holding and grabbing the refs will get away with. So perhaps a team that is often penalized can skate by come second season.
I don't know if I can give you 2 straight hockey questions without sprinkling in some other stuff before losing the people who don't have any interest in Panthers hockey.
Fair point, Dan.
So, Jeremy, can you read, Adnan, some of Brian Cox's quotes? Brian Cox, for those of you who do not know, has been an actor for a ton of time, a long time, a classically trained actor, thespian, and most famous for being Logan Roy in Succession. And he does something that I just never see actors do. He's called Johnny Depp overrated, but he's taken out recently here Joaquin Phoenix on Napoleon. What are the quotes there, Jeremy, to read to Adnan?
So he said of Joaquin Phoenix in Napoleon, terrible. It's terrible. A truly terrible performance by Joaquin Phoenix. It really is appalling. I don't know what he was thinking. I think it's totally his fault, and I don't think Ridley Scott helps him. I would have played it a lot better than Joaquin Phoenix, I tell you that. You could say it's good drama. No, it's lies. And then continued, I think he's well named. Joaquin, wacky. It's sort of a wacky performance.
How rare is that for an actor to put his name on that?
Exceptionally rare, Dan. I love Brian Cox because he gives 0 Fs. And, you know, he's been a great actor for a long time. People will know Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. He played Hannibal Lecter way back in Manhunter, the great Michael Mann movie back in 1986. So he's been an excellent actor for a long time. Rob Roy, etc. He really obviously found his second home and second wind with Succession and for Notoriety for All. But yeah, actors normally stick together. They're a fraternity. If somebody feels that way, they might espouse that privately. To say so publicly is both funny and unique. And I love everything that Brian Cox stands for.
I need to know if anyone has actually seen Napoleon, because my understanding is it didn't do very well in the box office. So Brian Cox could be right about this.
Jess, I'm one of the few that actually liked it. You're right. It did not do well at the box office. It did not do well with critics. I actually found it enjoyable. And part of it is that I think it's meant to be kitschy and a little bit silly at times.
Wacky,
I think that's what Cox is.
Was it wacky?
I'm sorry?
Wacky Joaquin? Like what? That was what
I wouldn't say he's wacky. I'll give you, I don't want to be vulgar, but he's like a really horny guy. So there's one scene where Vanessa Kirby's his wife, she's in the bed, and rather than like seduce her, he just starts whirring like a motor. And he starts like tapping his
like
foot.
Mike
So
Tyson?
like, yeah, either you're going to say, oh, this guy's very impatient and funny and using nonverbal communication and have sex, or you're going to say this is a bad performance and an actor hamming it up and whacking Joaquin. Clearly, Brian Cox picked the latter.
It just seems like he's a hater. He's like, Dan, what's the story you always tell of like, I looked everywhere and the best person for the job? Me.
Yeah, sour grapes, dude. Yeah.
That was Dolphins.
Joe Bailey.
Yeah, Joe Bailey. He was searching for a new COO of the Dolphins and searched all over the globe and found it in the bathroom mirror. The best candidate was in the bathroom mirror.
But that quote means nothing, right, Adnan? Because he's not really criticizing the performance. He's saying, I wanted that role.
Yeah, and that's the key, Stu, is he brought the hammer down at the end. Because everything else, he could just be, a learned critic, maybe someone who really knows a lot about Napoleon Bonaparte and is just being passionate. But he's like, he made clear it was not Ridley Scott's fault. He was not impugning him. It's clearly on the actor because I'm the better actor, which, by the way, I think he is right.
But he did criticize the performance. He criticized, it wasn't just that he wanted the job. He was pretty critical of the job that was done. And furthermore, I would say Joaquin Phoenix is one of those people that if he makes a movie, I'm going to watch it because he makes good choices and he's an exceptional athlete, exceptional actor. It's strange to have him take out someone of that.
Brian Cox is the athlete.
Yes, thank you. It's strange to see a situation where not only you're taking out another actor, but an actor of this pedigree. Jeremy, what else did Brian Cox have to say?
Braveheart is a load of nonsense. Mel Gibson was wonderful, but it's a load of lies. He never impregnated the French princess. It's a bollocks, that film.
All right, that's fine. That's tame for Brian Cox.
Later called critics stupid. He said they're all stupid because theater criticism's gone right down.
He would have done better
tubes.
there on that one.
He also said that method acting is also bollocks. Nonsense. They're transmitters of energy.
Talking about Jeremy Strong there.
Exactly. Roy's right. So on set, Brian Cox is the type, show up, learning lines, and go. And Jeremy Strong is like, give me a minute, let me get in a character. And it's like, oh my God, this method acting nonsense. So he said, listen, I respect Jeremy. I think he's a great actor, but it's not for me. I think it's a waste of time. Bollocks, as he would say.
Have you seen the 2-part Apple documentary on Steve Martin?
Steve Martin also. I thought it was, listen, the second half is outstanding, Dan. The first half I actually thought was a little pedantic. It's mainly just showcasing Steve Martin at the height of his stand-up career, and it's all B-roll. You don't actually see any talking head. You'll see voice of Jerry Seinfeld, voice of Steve Martin at the bottom of the script, but it's essentially him doing that wild and crazy guy and, well, excuse me, and King Tut arrow through his head. And I got to be honest, I know it was a cultural phenomenon. I know he sold out the way Fleetwood Mac would sell at stadiums, but I didn't find the humor particularly funny. To me, it's rather dated, unlike the way a Richard Pryor or George Carlin, their humor still stands up. But the second part I thought was fascinating. That was Steve Martin today, showing his life, his wife, his complicated relationship with his father, as so many relationships of artists and fathers are. His relationship with Marty Short, of course, I love him, Canadian legend, what he's been able to do with his movies, Parenthood, LA Story. Wish there was more on Bowfinger. Sadly, no Eddie Murphy interview. We needed more on Bowfinger. He tells a wonderful story with the late John Candy. We love planes, trains, and automobiles, so I'd recommend it, Dan. It's very good on Apple Plus.
You love the second one where he cooks a poached egg.
Yeah, he said he knows I can only cook one thing. And it was actually two things, 2 poached eggs. And you see him in detail cooking poached eggs, and he's laughing, saying, how fascinating is this going to be in the documentary? People watch me cook and then eat breakfast. But he's a man of simple tastes, but actually I shouldn't say simple taste. He has very expensive, exotic taste. He loves art. He's a massive art collector. He said when Marty Short first met him, they were working on Three Amigos. He walked in his house, he was beside himself. That's a Picasso, that's this. He goes, I've seen your movies. How can you afford this? Like, he was astonished that Steve Martin is renowned art collector, but he's got a real fine eye for that kind of thing.
You mentioned Bowfinger. I think it's among Eddie Murphy's best performances.
Oh, my God.
What do you believe to be Eddie Murphy's greatest performance?
I think it's impossible to top Coming to America, Dan, and certainly 48 Hours has a lot of fans and Trading Places. But I'm with you on Bowfinger being top 5. I think it's criminally underrated because he's able to play that character of Jiff so well. The braces, the shyness, the laughing, the squeamish behavior. He's so excitable around Heather Graham. And then, of course, the other character, which is the one who's being seduced by Terrence Stamp, and is clearly a shot at Scientology. And the dual performances are great. And I think Martin's hilarious. That last shot when he says, my whole life, maybe one day the FedEx guy will come and give me a package. The way it's shot in slow motion, I was falling out of my chair in the theater. I love that movie.
What is your top 5 list that now has some room on it because David Sampson is not here and you can actually expound on some things for once?
So I can't believe David's not here. I'm thrilled. But honestly, Dan, it's a mystery. We're not exactly sure where he is. So in honor of Sampson's curious disappearance, we're doing the top 5 mystery movies in cinematic history.
All right, he's in Pittsburgh.
Steve
Everybody,
Martin.
it's as part of the tour. He's in Pittsburgh. But let's go ahead and do top 5 movie
It's a mystery.
mysteries. Number 5.
The Maltese Falcon. Listen, Bogart at his best. I know you're going to quibble and say this is a film from a different era.
Bogart
Yeah,
at
it
his
is, but
best.
He could be anywhere, really.
This is, quote the film, the stuff that dreams are made of. A great film noir, detective thriller, mystery movie. The Maltese Falcon. Dial it up. Everyone loves it.
Number 4.
The Usual Suspects. So successful was the ad campaign, they simply had the words, who is Kaiser Sose? And people were obviously entranced by this concept and what exactly it was all about. And we don't want to give it away, do we? 1995, spoiler alert. But amazing cast, of course, from start to finish, and especially that final reveal. It's a great mystery that really comes undone at the right time and does so beautifully.
Number 3.
Number 3 is The Sixth Sense. I See Dead People.
Yeah.
I mean, Haley Joel Osment's career, one might argue, has been like a cadaver ever since. But he was amazing in this movie. Of course, Bruce Willis showing his dramatic chops. And the arrival of M. Night Shyamalan, this filmmaker from Philadelphia who revered Hitchcock, clearly was inspired by those types of mysteries and thrillers. It still holds. It still bangs from today.
Number 2.
Memento. Christopher Nolan, I mean, what an incredible conceit for a movie. We're going to go backwards, forwards. We're going to slip in some black and white and color. Everyone keeps talking about Oppenheimer, this behemoth that won 7 Academy Awards and made almost $1 billion. Memento is a great mystery, a great psychological thriller. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor. It's incredible.
Yes or no, better than Oppenheimer? It seems like you were tempted to do it, but you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't quite
He was
go
right there.
You were a bit of
Yeah.
a coward. You wanted to do it, and you failed.
Better than Oppenheimer, Dan. I will
There
not
it
be
is.
a coward. It's
There
better
it
than
is.
Just say it
Yes,
next time. I mean,
Put it on the poll. Is Memento better than Oppenheimer? Number 1.
Number 1, what's in the box? What's in the box? 7.
so good.
I mean, as dark and gruesome as it gets, it's not necessarily a fun one for the whole family because it's grim and unrelenting, but I think it's a brilliant thriller, brilliant mystery movie. What's in the box? Great work from everybody, including Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt, and director Brad Fincher.
I saw a good documentary the other day about the history of The Exorcist. I did not
Yeah.
know the movie The Exorcist. I did not know a ton of things about that. And one of the things that I did not know is
Billy
that
Friedkin slapping the priest.
He loves slapping people.
Yeah.
one of the things that I did not know is that The Exorcist initially did not classify as a horror movie. Was
Right.
not ever made as a horror movie.
Which is crazy to think about, Dan, because there's literally scenes of a woman stabbing herself in her private area with a crucifix and, saying things about Jesus that we won't repeat here. I mean, just think to one with like, oh, this is like a light comedy walk in the park. Like, no, this is a horrific film. And by the way, that image from the movie is amazing. I mean, that's one of the most haunting images ever.
You nailed the dismount. That you edited yourself on what it is that you were saying, on what it is she was saying, but you left in the part of of what she did with the crucifix.
Gave you just enough, Dan, but left a little left to the imagination.
Man, did we bail on hockey early?
Yeah, we did. Leafs Bruins, final thoughts.
Bruins dominate the regular season series 4-0. Toronto hasn't won a cup since '67. That drought will continue. I think the Bruins win in 6. It's been fun.